Oh, look who's in the house.
Premier.
Oh, it's so bad.
Premier.
That's terrible singing.
Jacinta, Allan, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good
How are you this morning?
Morning, Premier.
We're well.
We are
How are
good.
you?
Good.
You've had an early start this morning.
Oh, not as early as you, but it's lovely to see you.
But have you just driven down from Bendigo?
No, it's Parliament sitting this week, so I'm in the city for the week.
I was going to say, you
yeah.
promised me regional bakery delights next time you come in.
I've been
But
in the
that's-
city.
That's
I've been in
fine.
the
You've been in the
city.
city. I'll give you a leave pass this
Thank
time.
you.
But next time,
Just this
Next
once.
next time you
time.
lose my vote.
Oh, that's a big. Okay, the team are on it. They are on it.
Hey, I got to say, as a parent of 3 young kids, I was very happy waking up this morning and
Yep.
seeing the news headlines regarding social media age limits.
Yep.
Can you recap it for everyone?
Yeah. So look, I'm a parent, but also I visit a lot of schools, talk to a lot of kids, teachers, parents, and then also you look at the evidence, right?
How
You
old are
look
your
at the
kids,
evidence.
sorry?
10 and 12.
Yeah, right.
10 and
So are they
12.
on social media yet?
Oh, well, this is a big issue in our house.
Yeah.
Big issue in our house. We've actually stopped letting them use YouTube because
We've had to do that.
one click and you're in a whole
How do you
world.
do that? How do you stop them?
You
Is
can-
that just parenting?
parenting.
Or
No,
is there a
no.
block you can put on?
You have to put a block on
Really?
honestly, the best way to describe it is like watching drug addicts.
Yeah.
If you just said don't go on there, like we've even had to go on and check the screen time and stuff during the
Yeah.
night because the kids will wake up and
Logging
use it.
on middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where I think it becomes a conflict at home. It's kids and parents. You know, you've got enough going on. You don't need to
Yeah.
add that conflict into home. And that's where the battle's got to be against the tech giants. They have the means and the measures to stop this sort of content being pumped into kids' feeds. Now, clearly, they're not taking enough action. And the proposal to look at putting in place a ban on social media for kids under 14, parental controls for 14 and 15-year-olds, is just one step. It's one tool in the toolkit to manage this inappropriate content
So-
being pumped through.
Is that what we're doing in Victoria? There will be a ban. What is the age?
So it's moved a bit overnight, and I'm really excited to see that the Prime Minister is
Yes.
coming on board. So South Australia have been doing some work. We've been talking with South Australia. There's a proposed draft bit of legislation that we were looking at introducing at a state level, and
Yep.
we're wanting to go out and chat to parents and teachers and kids, and also experts about how to do it. Not should we do it, but how to do it. And then this morning, the Prime Minister has jumped on board and said it's going to be a national approach, which is
Great.
just fantastic.
Okay,
I've
so-
got audio of Albo
Okay.
from this morning.
Well, what we want to do is to get our kids off their devices, to get them interacting with real people, having real experiences. And we know that social media is doing social harm.
Premier, that's all good and well, but how on earth do you make that happen?
Yeah.
How do you police it?
Look, and this is a challenge. And as I said before, we know that the tech giants have the mechanisms now to deal with it. They're not. And that is where the proposal that we're wanting to go out and consult on, which I believe might also be what the federal government are announcing, is to put the obligation back on the tech giants. So you could have a regime of fines and obligations on those tech giants to take responsibility for who's signing up to their platforms.
In regards to age verification?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's part of it, but parents still have to enforce it within their homes as well.
Yeah.
Like, you
But-
can't
sorry,
just
you're
wash your
saying-
hands of it
I
and
know.
say
Yeah.
this is
But are you
Facebook's
saying
problem.
we would have to show some sort of ID?
Yeah. So the eSafety Commission has been working on an age verification
Right.
tool. So
Yep.
it can be done, and there's also a lot of the states in the US are doing this as well. But going back to Lauren's point about, you're right, it will still become a conversation in the home. But for the parents, it gives them another reason to say to the kids,
The
this
power's
is
out of my hands.
These are the rules.
these are the rules. And if you think about, we banned mobile phones in schools a few years back. We were the first state here in Australia to do that. And that also got a really strong response from parents and teachers because it's someone else telling kids
That's- and-
that,
and
and
I'll
that
be
helps
honest,
parents.
100% it
Yeah.
does.
You've got
As
the
a-
enforcement.
Because as a parent, they're like, well, I hate you, Dad. Sign me up. And it's like,
It's
mate,
not me. I
It's
don't
not
make the
me.
rules.
No offense.
You can- no,
it's
no.
the government.
I'm
know.
not sure if Kilmore's in your electorate, is it?
Not quite, just on the other
south.
side. Yep.
So the father of a teenager who took her own life, Jessica Clellan, this is a horrible, horrible story. He wants he's welcomed this move, obviously, but he wants a step further. He wants a curfew imposed on teens or on kids using social media. Is that realistic? And is that something we can also try and push for?
Yeah, look, I'd be happy to have a look at it. And I think, again, this is where the voices of families, parents, kids is really, really important.
Consultation.
Really, really important. That's part of the consultation. And as I said before, I visit a lot of schools and I ask kids 2 questions, both primary and secondary kids. What do you reckon about limiting a ban on social media, and what do you reckon the age should be? And what's really interesting is whether it's primary school, secondary school kids, they all say, yeah, there does need to be a limit, and they all kind of bounce around the 13, 14-year-old age
But
as
they
being
all
the right
agree
place.
there needs to
It's
be
pretty universal.
Well, we were having this chat off the air before you arrived, and we all just sat here with the same thought. Thank God we didn't have this at
Yeah.
school.
I'm so grateful.
Like, school was
Yeah.
hard enough.
Yeah,
I
right.
grew up in a time where there was no social media, and I had a pretty great childhood, right? But I do wonder if that would have been different if all of this was in my hand.
And this is where the balance is tipped the wrong way. It's doing more harm than good at the moment. And I really want to be clear, though, there is good on social media. You can find your community, your space, your
Yeah.
village.
Great poached eggs in your area, that sort of
Depending
thing.
on what you want to do, you
Is
can find. And so,
What
how do we
is-
get the good back?
What is social media, though? What are we talking
Well,
about?
this is also something
Instagram,
that
is YouTube social media?
Yeah, so there's a few different. The proposal is what's in and what's out,
Yeah.
and you everything's in unless it's decided that it's not social media, because there's a
Great.
few platforms that are safe and appropriate to use, particularly ones that are run through schools or the education in the education space. YouTube is an interesting one because it's more an app than a social media
You know the
platform.
problem with YouTube, though, and I get quite emotional about this because, and I'm only going to talk about this now because my kids wouldn't be in the car, but I've seen my kids absolutely change after being on YouTube. Like, we've had to ban their attention span. Like, now they watch YouTube Shorts where they couldn't watch something for a minute and a half. Now they need 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's an absolute addiction, Glenn.
Yep, and I've had that experience too.
It's
Jace.
horrible.
Yep, and
Horrible.
it's and you don't want to be in conflict with your kids
No,
at
and
home.
I'll tell you the other thing, and parents all say it to me as well, it's bloody hard because you sit there and go, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing it, but here's the
Yeah.
iPad, I just need a break.
Yeah.
Is this bipartisan? Is the opposition on board?
Look, I hope so. I haven't heard, because this is we announced this yesterday, and there's been the announcement by the Prime Minister this morning. But I would hope so, because it is something that it doesn't matter where you're from, your family circumstances. It's a pretty universal experience.
So when is this happening?
So this is where we were proposing on consulting on the legislation. The Prime Minister has indicated this morning, I believe, that he wants to legislate before the end of the year.
Great.
And that's and in terms of taking a national approach, because one of the questions is, how do you stop this at a state border?
Yeah.
Well, now we're having a national conversation and a national approach.
Well,
Awesome.
shame on anybody who's against
Yeah.
it. Just quickly, I was going to say, we want to lower the age. What about kids who'd be listening now who have access to it, who are, say, 15?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah, and that's
Would
going
they
to be.
lose it?
We're going to need to talk to those kids, absolutely.
There'll
and
have to be a
parents.
phase out.
They'll
time.
have
You
to
can't
be.
just do a hard
So
exit.
that's where, and again, this is also now being picked up in that national approach.
There'll be kids born after this year, and then it'll slowly push
Yeah.
back for a couple of years. But you know what, Jace, we were talking before. I would actually love to hear from some kids who are maybe 19 or 20 now who grew up with social media to say, do you wish you didn't have it when you were a kid? Because I'm grateful we didn't have it. I'd love to hear from some young late teens, early 20s.
Who had it.
Can I share you a story?
Yeah, absolutely.
I asked these questions of kids at schools, and I've got two, I remember on 2 occasions, students who were 15, 16, coming up to me and saying, I now know the damage it was doing to me.
Yeah.
And so I wish there had been a ban
Yeah.
when I was younger, because I can now see how I wasn't ready for it. And that's where the evidence comes in. Kids' brains aren't developmentally ready for that kind of content that's being pumped through.
13, 24, 10, if you are in that age bracket, you'd like to join the conversation, because I think these are the people that kids will learn from. They're going to learn from the 20-year-olds. They're not going to learn from us oldies telling them what to do. But if there's 20-year-olds and
this is the
19-year-olds
most-
saying, I wish I didn't have it.
This is the most impressionable age.
Totally.
You know, and you'd know as parents, you know, this is the time that we need to make these
100%,
adjustments,
and it
these
is.
changes.
It is frightening. I get quite emotional about it.
Yeah. As do I. I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I've had days where I'm like, I'm just going to smash it. I'm holding the iPad and the hammer.
But
and I'm
see,
just
that's
like, get rid
another
of it.
issue. There's technology and then there's social media,
Yeah.
and they're two completely
Yep.
similar but also separate things.
Yeah. What do you mean? We're going to go outside and kick a football, Dad? Put it on the screen?
Fresh air. Hang on.
Hey,
Good on
great
you.
work.
Thank
Good
you.
on you.
Good to chat.
And thank you.
Take care.
Jacinta, Allan joining us on the air. 13 24 10. We'll take your calls next. A lot of parents will be waking up to good news this morning, hearing the government are out to lower the legal age for
They're
social
lifting it.
media.
They're
Sorry,
lifting
lifting it.
Yeah, to put a ban in place for kids under a certain age being on social media. There is a long way to go, but the Prime Minister has spoken this morning saying he fully supports it. We're going to make it a national policy. But what we want to talk about this morning, which the phones have gone bananas for, is we want to talk to young people who were on social media that wish perhaps they weren't, because I'm extraordinarily grateful that I grew up in an era where we didn't have any of this stuff.
It is one of my biggest fears as a
I
parent.
just kind of scraped through. I think I was in year 12 when MySpace came in, which was sort of the first one of the social media. And
Yeah.
that was where you ranked your friends.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Remember that?
Shocking.
Your
Yeah.
top 9 or whatever
And you'd
it
always
was.
change them.
And if you had a fight, if you had a fight with someone,
You'd
you'd be like, well,
upgrade
see ya,
them.
you're
Or
out of
you'd-
the top 9.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Everyone had Tom.
So that was sort of the first one that I just had a little
the
bit
creator.
of.
He was always in
He
there.
was
wasn't
always
He
in
had
there.
to be
He
in your
couldn't
top
delete him.
friends.
A little
No.
bit self-indulgent
Very
now in hindsight.
self-indulgent.
Good on you, Tom.
All right, let's go to Bella in Hampton. Bella, how old are you and how old were you when you started using social?
Hi guys, so I am 22 and I was in year 6, like around 12 when Instagram and Snapchat were really big and it was kind of, the first kind of social media platforms that we were introduced to, and like the access we had growing up was kind of just like astronomical. Like I'm the oldest in my family, so I haven't have any siblings, any older siblings. So like my parents navigating that, like I just look back at that and I'm absolutely terrified of having kids in this generation because it's just scary.
It is scary, isn't it? And do you think that changed your childhood, Bella?
100%. Like the bullying that transpired, hiding behind, there was even like apps like Ask FM, like you could just everything was anonymous. Like it was just insane, and and just the perpetual diet culture, like
Yeah,
as
that's a big
female,
one.
like growing through that as well. Just the access of seeing so many different people out there and messages that were pushed through is like terrifying.
And then were
frankly.
people judgmental on posts as well? Like, so we only got 2 likes?
100%. That was such an issue too. Like even recently, Instagram has the option that you can turn off likes now, and
you
I
can't
think
see how
that's
many.
changed a lot. Like it was such a competition. Like how many followers you had,
Yep.
how many likes and comments you would get. It was such a competition.
Hey, Bella, for young kids who might be on the way to school listening to this right now, they might be fighting with their parents about using social media. They might not be allowed on social media, but they want to be. What would you say to them?
I would say it's not worth it. I don't know. Like I just look at the access they have, the competition, just the amount of what they can see, just how other people look, and just the competition towards it. I just think is just very scary, and everyone has their own journey in life. And
Well,
just
but
the-
my
comparing.
issue here is that kids being told they can't have something is like a red rag to a bull.
Especially being told by
It
adults.
is, regardless of how old you are. Kids are so
what's-
savvy when it comes to a device.
I know.
How on earth? There's going to be rat
But
runs
do you
getting
know,
around
but do you
this.
know why they want it, Clint? Because their mates are on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's sort of like, I reckon even Jacinta Allan, the Premier, was here before it. And when she goes around and talks to kids, they're like, yeah, we'd be happy with an age limit and stuff. I think if you dragged every kid separately in a room and they didn't have to say it in front of their friends, they would love not the pressure that goes with doing
Yeah,
a
but as
post or-
adults, I find it really full on at times.
I'm the same. That's why you hear all the time.
But
Everyone's
we've
like,
got-
I'm doing a social media detox.
Let's go to Nadia in Blackburn, 21 years old. Nadia, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Where do you sit on this? Because you're still a very young person. What do you think
Yeah.
about people younger than you being on social media?
Yeah, well, I have an interesting perspective because I work with kids as well as I'm still at university myself. And I find that just even for me, social media is addictive. And it's even hard to get my work done because I just find myself switching between my uni work and then going on social media. And so it just kind of takes over your life in a way. It's a quick, easy sense of like entertainment that you just kind of switch.
So given your work with kids, can you put an age on it? can you this morning, right now, can you just, definitively say it should be 16 or?
Yeah, I absolutely believe it should be 16.
Okay.
I mean, there's even research that screen time should be significantly reduced and there should be no screen time before 2 years of age.
You know, the other bad thing I was going to say, Nadia, you work with kids. When you're in front of kids, would they see you pick up your phone and look at social media?
No, I try as best as I can not to involve anything with phones, but then again, we still use iPads to,
Yeah, but I think kids see us drink alcohol, and it doesn't mean that they can do it.
Because
there's
it's been implemented
there
that
are
way,
laws
though.
and there are rules that you can and can't do at certain ages. But Nadia, if you work with kids, do you see the difference in kids who are on devices and social media versus the ones that aren't so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you even see it in their play. Like the topics they discuss in their play is completely different to what you would have had years ago. Like the other day, they've got these square blocks and they pretend that they're iPads. And the other day, one of the kids said they're going to post something on Facebook. And I was like, oh, my God.
How old are they?
They're 4. So.
Yeah, and look, kids do see what adult, and that's an age-old thing, right? Like my nephew has no screen time. He's 2. He's never used a screen. He doesn't watch. He doesn't watch YouTube. He wouldn't know how to use a mobile phone, but he picks up the remote control and pretends he's walking around talking on it like his parents. And kids do that.
And let's be honest.
But he's a single child.
Yeah, first child.
Because I watched Archie the other day, who's 2, our 2-year-old, and he picked up an iPad and knew exactly what to do with it, which was terrifying because he doesn't normally have it. He's seen his brothers.
Yeah.
And let's be
They
honest.
learn. They learn. That's
Let's not
life.
mince our words this morning. The social media giants out there could not give a stuff.
Clint,
So there needs to be a homegrown solution, and hats off to both the federal and state government because it sounds like it's coming. And also to Michael Whitfley here at Nova, who has really championed this cause.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
He's done a power of work here.
Yeah, he absolutely has. It's really impressive, and it's great. I mean, like we all said, we're so glad we grew up in an era where we didn't have it.
I said to Lou the other day, we praise people like Mark Zuckerberg and all. To me, and I know this is extreme, he is the devil at the moment. What he has caused, the stress and the fallout in the world is unbelievable. And I know I sound like an old grumpy guy saying that, but honestly, firsthand, the crap we have to deal with because of what he's invented is unbelievable.
But it also has done a lot of good for a lot of other people too. Like social media and technology is like, I know that you are in the trenches with 3 kids dealing with it, but it's changed a lot of people's lives, their businesses,
and you know what? It's killed a lot of others. It really has.
Yep.
It's just gone 8:08.
Gonna be a good day. Jason Lauren.
Wake up feeling good.
On Nova 100.
Jason Lauren.
Follow them on socials. Nova.